of Funeral Consumers Alliance of Eastern Massachusetts. And I just want to say welcome to you all. But before I start talking, which I will do for a good bit, I want to invite you to talk to each other. So I'm going to invite you to turn to a person near you, maybe next to you, if you have somebody next to you. And it is working. Do you need, is this on?
That's better. Yes, I think so.
We're not clear if this is on or not. Is this on?
Better.
Okay. Oh, this is on. Does it help to have the microphone?
Yes.
When you weren't here, I could really be well heard, but I guess we filled up the room a little bit. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Funeral Consumers Alliance of Eastern Massachusetts annual meeting here in the beautiful Mount Auburn Cemetery, Bigelow Chapel. So welcome to you all. Before I start the things that I need to tell you about, I want to invite you to share with each other. So each person will get 2 minutes, and I'll tell you when it's time to switch. So the query or question for you to explore with your nearby neighbor is what brought you here today? I mean, beyond your feet or your car. What is your interest in being here today? So please turn to your neighbor. Everybody have a neighbor to turn to? Sometimes it works better for 3. Do you have a neighbor? First, figure out who's talking first, and you've got 2 minutes. Can we recenter? Well, that was successful. Everyone has a reason for being here. That's good. As Emily was just mentioning, you know, on the airplane they say, this flight is going to here, and if you're going somewhere else, you should go off. This day is about death and burials and cremations and all good things surrounding that end of life time period. So if you were hoping to be talking about gardening, you are not in the right room. So special thank yous to Mount Auburn Cemetery for the wonderful tour that I heard you guys got on the exploration of the history of death as seen in the cemetery garden and then the tour of the crematorium. We have a little gift for Mount Auburn for their generosity. Mount Auburn has donated their services and this space to us, so we are incredibly grateful. Let's just give them a hand. Beautiful room, and I get the best view. I get the rose stained glass window. So periodically, if you get tired of that stained glass, you can put that way. So once again, I'm Patty Muldoon. I'm president of our Funeral Consumers Alliance of Eastern Massachusetts, and I would like to begin by recognizing our executive director on the national level, our Funeral Consumers Alliance, not of Eastern Massachusetts, but over the country. Josh Slocum, would you please stand? Josh drove down from Vermont, so we're very glad to have him here. We also have a couple of people from the Funeral Consumers Alliance of Western Massachusetts. They got caught in traffic jams and of course our wonderful speaker, Karen Smith, whom I will introduce later. So is there anybody else we want to recognize in the room? Okay. Other than all of you wonderful folks. So it's been an exciting year for our organization. We started off a little bit shaky, had to do a lot of electing at the beginning of the year with our first board meetings, and that's how I came forward and some of our other board members. This year we've really been focusing on building the organization, and I have great hopes that moving forward for next year, we will be able to focus on expanding our services, expanding our outreach, building our diversity, and really helping consumers in the area because so many people need our help. As a frequent tagline for our organizations, don't get caught dead without us. So that's what we're here for. Our mission, as stated in our new bylaws and has been our mission all along, is to promote and protect the rights of consumers to access meaningful, dignified, and affordable final arrangements, and to educate and assist consumers with that process. And we are much more than consumers. We are activists. So I also hope in moving forward that we will be doing more on the policy and legislative front, really looking out for people in the state of Massachusetts. But on the national front, we are working with Josh and all of the other affiliates to expand the funeral rule. That's the big FCA goal this year, is to expand the funeral rule so that funeral homes not only have to give you the general price list when you call them up on the phone. They only have to give individual prices. If you show up, they'll give you their full general price list. But we'll also put it online so that you can shop for funeral services just as you would shop for everything else out there. That you can become much more educated and you could actually compare prices. Meanwhile, we are looking to do a funeral home survey in the fall, and we're very much looking for volunteers. We will provide the training to be able to get a real solid idea of what's happening in eastern Massachusetts. So those are some of the things going forward that we are looking to do. What we are looking to accomplish today, we have the meeting agenda listed. Going forward, the basic things we are trying to accomplish is to vote in a new set of bylaws, which can be amended going forward, but our previous bylaws were, I think they were written in 1962 when we were founded, and they reference the Memorial Society, and we are now the Funeral Consumers Alliance, and we want to move forward with that. So that's step one, is the bylaws, and step two will be to vote on a new board. So I'll speak to those things going forward. And the third thing that we want to accomplish today is to introduce you all to our new website with our wonderful designer, Jonathan Vogel-Boer. He's going to give us a presentation and walk us through a little bit. The website has been live since, what, 2 days?
Yeah.
2 days. It is as fresh as you can get, given that it's electronic. So we're very, very excited about the new website and definitely want your feedback on how that's going, things we need to add, change, whatever. It will be a much more active one than we've kind of let our website be in the background for a while, and now we really want it to be in the foreground of our outreach. So very exciting things happening today. I want to move on to bylaws. So are we good with the agenda?
Yeah.
All right. We, members of the board, have been working on drafting new bylaws for months. I don't consider them perfect. There are things we will still probably need to modify going forward, but it has been my privilege to be part of that process, rewriting our bylaws. So if you didn't happen to pick up copies of the old and new bylaws, you can see the old bylaws. I don't know if you've seen these, but really old typeface and all. Jonathan did put them on the website, so you can read them more easily than this old version. And the new bylaws, which are much more inclusive and current, reflecting what we are actually doing right now rather than what we thought we would be doing decades ago. So the basic differences between the old and new bylaws, we'll pull that up so that you can see it as I'm speaking. We have updated the organization name to be our name. The language is easier to understand and more current. Also, more inclusive. And we've decided to improve the continuity of the organization by, after this meeting, only electing half the board at a time, so that we're not trying to elect a whole new board each year with the possibility of complete turnover. We're trying to build in some continuity. So that some of us today will be, with your assistance, elected for 1 year, and some of us will be elected for 2. So that's for the initial board. So that improves our management. Also, we've cleared things up. If we as an organization are dissolved, we are assured, we have written in that any assets that we have, which would be our membership database and any money we might have in the bank, go to either another local affiliate, like maybe we were to merge and become Funeral Consumers Alliance of Massachusetts, and in which case 2 organizations might become one. I'm not saying we're going to do that, but we would have the ability to ensure that our assets go to the other organization. And if we were to completely dissolve, then it would then go back to the National Funeral Consumers Alliance. So it's giving us some flexibility in case of breakups or mergers. We're also changing the officer titles and duties to reflect our current practice. We don't have 2 vice presidents. So we also have, we are recognizing that we communicate electronically, so that's in there. And we are focused on the mission in the bylaws, which I just read to you earlier, which gives us, I think, a fair amount of clarity and also flexibility in how we achieve our organizational goals, which the mission is really a reflection of our goals. So those are the basic changes. I encourage folks to certainly look at the bylaws, but I recognize that most people haven't had a chance to peruse them deeply. Maybe you don't really care that much or want to. That's totally fine, because we had a committee of the board working on these. Claire McNeil, Lisa Core, and myself. Lisa's an attorney. So we've been meeting on this. Thank you. So that you don't have to bury yourself in depth. But things can be amended, so I just want to mention that if you have, did anybody come with amendments for the bylaws? Not that I thought you would, but.
I just want to mention about the name of the Memorial Society Incorporated. It's still coming. So it's our legal name that are doing business now.
Okay. What Paula has just said that you probably did not hear is that the Memorial Society is still our legal name. It's referenced in the bylaws that we were founded as the Memorial Society. And we are doing business as Funeral Consumers Alliance. But we're clarified that. Thank you, Paula. We have some very great board members who pay attention to these details.
Sometimes people write checks.
Yes.
So, yes.
I'd like to say that I actually knew what a memorial society was because I read and once had lunch with Jessica Bidford. But if you did not know what a memorial society was, you might think they were a group of New Englanders who ran around putting up plaques saying that George Washington slept here. And so I think the funeral consumer, well, what else would you say? Or George, or Paul Revere rode this way. But the Funeral Consumer Alliance is far more specific, and then people will understand what you're talking about.
Thank you. Very good point. It's more, our name, Funeral Consumers Alliance, is more clear. Yes.
I've been told that funeral directors started calling themselves Memorial Society. Hence the name change, because they were not going to call themselves Funeral Consumers.
I'm going to endeavor to repeat. Eva said that part of the name change reason was that funeral directors started calling themselves memorial societies, and since they weren't going to change what they were doing, we needed to change our language to say we are not funeral homes. We are advocates for consumers, and that's our only business. So thank you for that explanation of the history. Any other comments on name? Okay. Any comments on the bylaws before we move forward with a vote on that? I'll explain the vote in a second. Okay. So, for members in the group, can you raise your hand if you're a member? Almost the whole room, that's amazing. Wonderful.
Hand up if you need a pen.
Oh, I can, oh, yes, put your hand up if you need a pen. Okay, we're getting the pens, and I want to explain what we're going to do. For a vote on bylaws, you are given a green index card. That's what you're going to vote with. And it's going to be the simplest vote you've ever done. Just on one side, you will write yes if you vote in favor of the newly revised bylaws. And you will write no if you don't want us to change our bylaws. So, passing around the pens, yes if you support the new bylaws, no if you don't. Yes, question.
Is the process for amendments going forward the same as the process for redoing them has been?
She asked if the process going forward for doing new amendments is the same as the process for the bylaw, the whole revision. And yes, it would basically be the same process. We'd have a committee address the recommended change. Anybody can make a recommended change. And a committee would deal with that, pretty much probably the same committee. And then we bring it to a vote to the board, and the board would then come back to the full membership at our next annual meeting and say, we've had this proposed bylaw, the board supports it, or we've had a proposed bylaw, the board doesn't actually support it. What do you all say? Same process. It's the same basic process that I think everybody follows for voting, most anything. So Emily is walking around with her gorgeous ballot box that she decorated for this purpose, collecting everybody's votes. And as she does that, we are going to move on.
Did you vote? No.
In a moment.
Sorry.
I want to make sure we get all the votes, and then Emily will tally them. Emily is our clerk, and running the election is her job. I'm just announcing.
You're doing so well.
So we have no more questions on this process? All right. Everybody got their cards? Good. Meanwhile, I'm just going to wait till she's there, but I'm going to call Claire McNeil up to give the treasurer's report. Whichever organization needs a treasurer's report, and Claire is going to provide that in one moment. Why don't you come up, Claire?
When our fiscal year began in September, we had assets of $27,264. This year so far, donations and memberships have totaled $3,561. But our expenses were more. They were $5,900. So that is $2,120 less than the beginning of the year. However, we have savings, so we're very fortunate. We have still $23,447 in savings and checking at almost $2,000. Our biggest expenses were related to the printing and mailing of our newsletter, and that is common for the year, although I think we have also had more printing expenses than that. And that totaled $2,450. We have our expenses mostly are for going to organizations that have a nonprofit organization, and we provide our information at tables. It's called tabling, and various volunteer members of the Society of the Alliance do that. And I got an email this morning that we received a generous donation in congratulations on our new website of $100. So that's very nice. Are there questions?
How much in savings is what year you do?
We have 23,447 in savings. And the thing is that with the new members on the board, we actually don't know whether that was saved up a little bit over time, year after year, or if somebody made a big donation. It's kind of a mystery. Paula thinks it's the first.
I was told that by somebody who's.
Oh, okay. Saved up a little at a time. Right now, our donations, many people do make donations, and it's very helpful, but they're not covering our expenses. And our membership dues are very modest. We have just $30 pays you a membership, and we have not any structure for renewal. But we'll be thinking about how to find out whether people who joined many years ago are still interested, because mailing the newsletters is certainly costly. Other questions? Thank you.
Okay, very quickly, we got the results. Thank you so much. Our new bylaws have been enacted. Thank you. Thank you all so much. And now we're going to elect the board of directors. Can we? No, it's the annual meeting. Sorry, we're going to just get visually the list of board of directors. I am very pleased to report that of our current board membership, 8 board members wanted to continue, and we wanted them to continue, and our 2 board members who are stepping down have agreed that they would love to serve on our advisory council, which we're still developing. So everyone's commitment is still strong and wonderful. So our 2 board members stepping down are Lisa Core and Carrie Sue Barney. Yes.
These are the nominees.
She's not in it because I'm looking for her name and it's
Yeah, not there.
she's stepping down. Anyway, they've been wonderful to have on board, and Lisa particularly has been very helpful as an attorney with the bylaws. But both of them have been great, and we will continue our connection with them. So what we are going to ask, I'm going to ask you to vote on next is, I will list the officers first. Myself, Patty Muldoon, as president for a 2-year term. Ruth? Not vice president, though, right? Okay. We have listed Ruth Foss as a new board member as vice president. She's not going to be the vice president. As a new board member, we're going to give her a little time first. So that will be for 1 year, and we will leave the position of vice president open. Hopefully the board will be able to fill that role from within. Claire McNeil, who just gave the report, will continue as treasurer for 1 year, and Paula Chasen will continue as our membership secretary for 2 years. And Paula was treasurer before, so we have some flexibility on our board. Emily McClatchy behind me is going to continue as our clerk, and she will be for a 1-year term. Eva Mosley will be for a 2-year term, and she's been on the board for a long time. Ashley Taylor, who was our previous president, will continue. She was vice president this year. She's going to be just a member of the board next year for 1 year. Bill Thompson, who's handling the camera right there, is going to be on the board for 2 years with your vote. Jasmine Tangway for 2 years. And Kat Kimball for 1 year, and Kat is a new member. Would all of the nominees for the board please stand up? I'm already standing. Thank you all so much. So thank you all. Now I invite you to take your yellow cards, follow the same procedure you just did. Yes for this slate of candidates, no to oppose the slate of candidates. And I will mention that we actually do have the flexibility of adding one more person, should we want to the board. So I will invite you that if you have an additional nominee, in addition to writing yes or no, feel free to say somebody's name, and we will pay attention to that and bring that up. Yes, Claire.
And we also allow a yes, but someone could reserve the vote on one person.
No, we're voting on the slate. The board is presenting a slate to you, asking you to vote on the slate. Emily is going around once again to collect your pretty yellow cards. Anybody else need a yellow card? You can ask that. Okay.
But the yellow cards are for members.
Oh, yes, it's just members. We tried to make this vote as simple and easy and not take too much time out of our meeting because votes are maybe not the most interesting part of the meeting, the process thereof, but to be as inclusive as possible. So I just want to announce our next section. While we're going to be counting these, we're going to get a presentation on our new website. And I will say that the board chose to hire Jonathan Vogelborn as the consultant to design our new website, and he has gone above and beyond. Bill Thompson and I have been meeting with Jonathan, and Bill even more than I have, designing it. It's amazing. I think it is absolutely amazing where we've come from and where we are going to. So, Jonathan, are you ready?
Can I say this?
Oh, wait a minute. Bill is going to say something about this process.
I just want to take a moment, if I may.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is our previous website. Sophia, would you please stand up? Please. Please. The person standing before you has worked 10 years or more putting and maintaining our long-standing website, and I would love if everybody else cared to stand and give her a standing ovation. I wouldn't mind. But we have done tremendous work. Tremendous work. Thank you. John?
Do you, Jonathan, do you want the microphone rather than being here?
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And it's very beautiful in here, but it's so gorgeous outside, too. What a day. Just thank God. Oh, look. So, designing a website is one thing, but getting engaged with an organization trying to get to the heart of what's going on requires some attention. And I have had an incredible education through this process. I had to read all of your old website. There's some interesting rants on there, but there's also an incredible lot of information that how do you bring it over and what actually is relevant still, because there is some older stuff there that, like, really? Oh, I didn't know that. So when you design a website, if you go back to the other one, I'm trying to move me around, but at the other one there's a little logo in the upper left-hand corner. It has a very cute kind of a willow, and so there's the design, which is a logo. You got a logo, and you really don't want a committee working on a logo. It's very difficult to say, no, this one, no. So I had Bill and Patty, and maybe some other people had comments on it. But we finally got a logo, and then go back to the one. And when the logo's done, you got colors. So from the colors, you start with branding. There's marketing. You notice the brown and the green. So brown and green kind of appears everywhere. And then there's this dominant kind of purple stripe. So I'm just giving you my marketing sense here. Branding is something where when someone sees it, they go, ah, that's it, you got it. You don't have to think about it, there it is. So this is the new Funeral Consumer Alliance of very small letters, Eastern Massachusetts, because it's an affiliate. There's a whole big movement that's not just Eastern Massachusetts, and we're pairing up probably with Western Massachusetts for a Massachusetts portal. That's maybe in the offing. So when you land on something like this, you want your tagline. Now, people are familiar with this stuff? I mean, do I need to talk about this, or are you interested in this, or?
No, it's.
Yeah, okay, I'm telling you kind of what my thought process was. So the tagline, promoting your choices for after-death care. Can't be too long, you know, so because look where it sits. So we worked on that, probably 4 or 5 iterations. But in general, getting to know the heart of your organization was really a blessing. Things that it's changed my whole understanding of where I'm going in the ultimate sense, and it's given me an opening about, I was thinking about cremation, and it's like, no, I don't want to be fossil fuel. Right. I want to go down in the earth, and I had an opportunity to be part of a green burial, and it was just the whole concept, so I was very moved. And I heard Patty speak about at our meeting. She gave a forum which was just about describing her family surrounding her father at death and painting the cardboard box and telling stories on the box that he was in. Oh, just so moving. So I am grateful to be part of this and become a member of the Funeral Consumers Alliance. Good idea. Why don't you click join right there, or go back, or just good to get involved. Let's do that. But one more thing. I had to fight to get the donate button on the thing. No, let's put it down. The point of a nonprofit is you get a donate button. You don't want to go 2 levels to find something to.
Thank you for fighting.
Yeah,
Thank you for
fighting. And so it used to be, and get involved. I said, really? And then, so it's there. And you can hover over donate, and you'll recognize the here we are. There you go. Anybody recognize that? This is here, right? Right? This is
It's up on the hill.
That's up on the hill, exactly. So,
On the way to heaven.
when you land, actually, can you scroll slightly up? Actually, just pull, take it off of full screen and move it just slightly. Pull the edge in slightly. Just pull it to the back here. Yeah, good. So when you land, you can see that really a website is generally on 2 purposes. One is to get people who don't know the organization, who want or are looking for something, and you want to make it kind of easy for the people who have no clue what's going on to give them something to click on, something to find out, and describes what you do. These are the 4 areas of resources, which if you hover over the resource tab, they're all there. The about is like, well, they slide over to about. The about is like, well, if they want to know about the mission and the board members and the bylaws and the history, well, there it is. But generally people who come new to your website, they want this information. They don't necessarily know what you're about. They want to know how much it costs, what about caring for your dead, what about green burial. So things are right there. So I think if you scroll down some, well, you see the slider at the top. We've got the upcoming events, we've got various things. So here are some upcoming events. This, at 5 p.m. today, that thing will disappear. Poof, gone. So the events are set so that it just keeps scrolling in. And you see some events here. This is, I took a stroll through this place, and this is a bench down by the fountain over here. So, and this is on the Charles River. So then you just keep scrolling down. You can click and you go to an events page, and then this is just a contact, and this is where we serve all the way down. So the last tab I want to show you is the news. You want to click OK.
Can I just say that where we serve is gorgeous?
It turned out beautiful.
Really beautiful.
So we'll get one for Western Mass when it comes.
So do Eastern go to Worcester County?
Goes to Worcester, yeah.
Up to it, yeah.
Yeah.
trying to remember my geography. here.
So under news, this is the dynamic content, really. This is the stuff that changes, plus the stuff, the banner. So you're gonna highlight various events. You're gonna, this event is highlighted there with some buttons to take you places. If you notice, there is the advanced documents you could click on and go to. So here, the newsletters, if you click on newsletter, the newsletter, we have the current newsletter that's up when it comes. And then there's the newsletter. And you can click on that, you won't even click on that. Opens a new tab, and there's the PDF that you can read a little more closely. So close that tab, please. And then under news, the next item under news is articles. Now that's like, so there was an article on the old site that was about a book. So here's the Final Rights book. And there'll be a series of these all the way down.
Can I just mention that this is Josh Slocum, who's the co-author of Final Rights?
Famous man, I've seen it. It's great, thank you. And then, so probably here there'll be a write-up of this event, the next thing. And then in the next, under news, we want to go to stories. And this, we got one story now. This is, Ava Mosley gave this story. I don't know where you did that, where you gave this story. It was
in the fall.
Just recently, about your own experience. So I'm hoping that Patty will write up her story. It's stories about what happened. I'll write up the story of my experience with green burial. So people, all of you who've had experiences of something, some alternative to what the funeral industry does, it would be great to have that. So that's what that particular tab is about, that menu item. The last one is media. And actually there's more media than we thought are coming. So there'll be, hopefully we'll have Karen's talk on this as a whole thing. And there's on being, so we can find stuff that we're interested in. Some of you heard Krista Tippett's interview of Atul Gawande. This is the movie Wilford. Why don't you click Wilford the Woods? Just click on the image Wilford the Woods. And this will take you to that post. So you're just looking at post. So if you click and you can start the video there. So you can see the trailer for Will of the Woods.
Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
The movie, who did this movie? Is it Tony Hale? You can stop it, I think. It doesn't actually say there. It may say on the
trailer.
On the trailer. So and you saw Get Involved. Let's do the Get Involved again. So let's go up to Get Involved and on the become a member.
Here's the famous Karen Smith and two other national board members and me.
Allison and Rod and you.
Yeah. And then so here there's a form just to fill out. And last night one of my friends tried to join. That would be David Anick. And at the end of this form, it's supposed to take you to PayPal. We made the site go live and there was a glitch between the old URL and the new URL, so it didn't work. It works now, David, so you can go ahead and do it.
Join now.
Join now. And then the next on the form is the volunteer form, which is similar to what you've got that you just have in the papers that are surveys. So scroll down from that. There's the areas of interest. And the last is donate, which is often the first people want to see when they come to a website. So when you click donate, and you got to click the map returns. And if you scroll down a little bit, if you click the map, click on the map, boom, it will take you to a place some of you are somewhat familiar with. In time. There you go. So that's how you donate.
It's great.
That's it. There you go. Questions?
I'd like to make one suggestion. Many years ago, you may have seen it, there was a wonderful routine by Nichols and May, the $69 funeral. It is utterly hilarious. It's in black and white. Elaine May is now, I believe, starring on Broadway in a Broadway show. I do not recall which one. But I would like to suggest, Josh, if we sent her a letter on your stationery and asked her if we could get the permission to put that particular thing on our organization, I think that would certainly get a great viewership.
Yeah.
And knowing her comedy, which I find utterly side-splitting, I think she would be just the kind of thing she could do. She might have to check with the estate of Mike Nichols, but I don't think they would have any objection since it does make the same point.
Thank you. Sure. Mary?
I was just wondering if the person who wrote the book, their name, and maybe there was one other thing, if the type that if their name could go with what they did. I mean, to me, if it was,
I kind of think it's there, I just didn't, yeah, right. It's
yeah, when
important.
it doesn't pop up. I mean, the picture pops up, but you don't say, and so, you know, wrote this film or wrote this book.
Good. So, okay, one back there.
Maybe I missed it, but is there a tab for people who don't know how to start, like this tab for 4-step funeral planning? How do people make use of this organization?
Actually, there's one tab I didn't actually go, it's deeper information. Back.
Can you connect to that?
There you go. So it's under resources, general information.
Okay.
There's all these tabs I didn't go through, but there's a whole lot of information on the resources. So click on, what are you looking for particularly?
Caring for your own dead.
Well, I think it'd be caring for your own dead. Sorry, so you go back to resources, caring for your own dead. There's a link to the national and then the funeral industry stuff, indigent burial, prepaid funerals. Here are the guidelines. So if you click this thing here, just that brings up the whole document.
Can you scroll down?
You scroll down. There's all kinds of links, and there's a huge amount of information on this. I didn't want to get too far into the weeds. I wanted to give you the big picture. There is a lot of information here. So click off of here. Just click anywhere off. No, that's too far off. Click off. Okay. Then scroll down. So each of those sections are here. So you can say, let's plan ahead. Is this what do you need to do for death certificate, between death and cremation and burial? There's a lot of information here that I took over and presented in a different way than the other websites.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you get to that information again?
Resources is right at the front tab, caring for your own dead. If you want to know about green burial, actually click green burial, because that green burial, that takes you to the sister. It's a landing page, essentially, for the sister organization that Ava was part of starting. She's still on the board, right? Green Burial, Massachusetts. So this is you click, and that takes you immediately to Green Burial, Massachusetts. It describes what green burial is. So close that one, or just click back. And then the other resource here, which is again right at the landing page. It's all at the opening page. So go back to resources. And the funeral price survey, let me show you something on that. That's, since you seem to be interested.
I need to.
Yeah, so I knew you were going to go on. At the bottom of the page on the funeral price survey is the actual 2015 survey. So you scroll down and you just, so let's click on Clancy right there. You see that little arrow? Click on the little arrow. No, that thing right there. Yeah. So that just expands. You can see what they offer, how much it costs. So it's pretty robust kind of. There's a lot of functionality to this website.
Thank you.
And now that I know you have that much money, I don't know.
Can we all give a big hand? I think that is an amazing growth, and yes, we are so grateful to Sophia for all of the work that she has done up till now. And I will mention, is Jennifer here? Jennifer, will you please stand up? We have a new web mistress of the night, Jennifer O'Donnell. Very excited that we're actually, with all of this work, still going to be able to move forward and maintain it. And Jonathan has also offered to provide training for those of us who will need some access on carrying this forward, so that's awesome. Okay, The results of the election are the board is elected. It was unanimous. So that's really great. And I want to do, wrong one. I want to do some quick thank yous. I didn't know how our time frame would go, but I think it's really important to appreciate, since we are an all-volunteer organization, and so many people are putting in tremendous work. I'm going to ask you to come up when I call your name. Ashley Taylor, Carrie Sue is not here today, Claire McNeil, Emily McFlatchy, Eva Mosley, Heather, she's not here today, Heather Massey, Jasmine Tanguay, Jonathan Vogelkorn, and Josh Slocum, Kat Kimball, Lisa Kaur, Paula Chasen, Peter Stefan, not here, Peter Zog, not here, Sophia Say. Would you all come forward to the front? To the front, you guys. Hi. Jasmine, Jonathan, Josh,
Thank you.
and Kat. By the way, I'll just say Kat has set up a photo booth outside with some Edward Gorey background. Amazing. Pretty. Come take a picture. Paula Chasen and Sophia Say. And we are so grateful to all of them. I also want to add that Sandy Ward of Western Massachusetts has been a wonderful consultant with us. Peter Zug has been handling database. Heather Massey has been our incredibly active volunteer. We have so many people who have worked tirelessly. Peter Stefan, funeral director, par excellence, taking care of indigent folks. There's so many wonderful people. Can we give this wonderful crowd a Thank you all.
Thank you.
Please grab a seat. Done yet. We have two more things. On your seats, you will find the survey and feedback form. We do want your involvement with Funeral Consumers Alliance of Eastern Massachusetts. We want you to become a volunteer. We want you to tell us what you need and how the meeting went for you today. What else do we really want to know? Just all your feedback. We want it. So please take a moment to write it. And while you're writing, we are going to do our raffle draw. So those of you who were here, want to come draw? Emily? Emily made this really cool raffle box, yeah?
So cute.
So we're going to draw first for this book, Our Advanced Planning Directive, Before I Go, You Should Know. And it's a freebie being given to
Bill. But Bill already has one, I'm guessing. So I'm going to draw another.
I'm going to give it to a non-board member.
Deborah T.H. I can't read the handwriting. Where's Ashley?
Deborah?
Sorry, the number 512-4317. Deborah.
She left, so I have her, I can.
Okay,
Do you know
great.
who she is?
No.
We're very
Will
trusting.
you see
Oh,
her?
I can look her up
Yes.
and I'll find
Ashley.
her.
We'll give it to Henny.
We're very trusting.
Yeah, two of those. And we have two more giveaways of a gift to Massachusetts residents about all of the information you need to know in Massachusetts.
Two of the same thing.
Two of the same thing. Two more
And
names.
the winners are Charles Hornig and Katrina, 512-4308.
Katrina? If you're not here, you don't get it.
Yep.
Okay.
Another name. This is called Choosing Your Path, How Massachusetts Residents Can Take Control of Their Medical Care, Estate Plans, and Funeral Arrangements.
Frank Singleton.
Frank? All right. The guys are welcome.
Yeah.
I would also like to say, Frank,
Thank you. I would also like to say that we are new at filming, as you just saw. We've got the new website, we're brand new. And I'm aware that we have videotaped images of some people who ask questions. So I'm just going to ask if there's anyone here who needs their face screened. I don't know how to do it, but I'm sure you can. Please come and sign. Don't include my visuals, because we didn't think of that beforehand. So please come sign. So if we post this so other people can see this amazing resources that we got today with Karen, that we haven't done something that is not what you wanted. So anything else we have to do? The photo booth is outside if you want pictures, and some of us are going to Greg's restaurant afterwards. If you want to join us, come see me. We'll add you to our reservation and walk over. It is walking distance from here.
Should I mention my...
I'm sorry, we have a really amazing announcement. Come on up, David. This is very exciting, brand new. Nobody else knows it.
Good evening, my fellow predeceased. My name is David Reno. I am a member of this organization. I was offered this from the lady who ran it in First Church of Boston. I am a member of Service Employees International Union Local 888. At the last executive board meeting, I introduced a resolution to have the Funeral Consumer Alliance as a benefit of the union, of the unions. Now, Service Employees International Union has approximately 2 million members. If we were able to get this benefit for each person, it would certainly spread the word considerably. So I would like to suggest, think of other people who may not know about it. I also would like to suggest, if we haven't done it already, there are many shows, many cable outlets that need guests every day. There are also radio shows that need guests every day. There's a magazine called Source, which is given out free to different talk shows, and we should get it.
Thank you all so much. You've been wonderful.